Welcome everyone to day 2 of our reclamation event with Peter Koenig, the source of the reclamation work. I'm here, Coach Wendy Hart. Nadja is here. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. You could pipe that up if you wish. How do we pronounce your last name, Nadja?
It's Taranchevsky.
Taranchevsky. See, that's easy to say. I read it. Taranchevsky. Okay, anyway. So Nadja's here with her expertise, also joining us. And we have just this incredible group of people. Everybody's still coming. And I'm so excited by the feedback that I heard yesterday. We went through the chat and just looked at all the shifting that was happening for everybody. People called it a miracle and magic and mind-blowing. And it was really fun to meet because I've only done this a couple of times on Zoom. Pretty much all the reclaiming I've done has been in groups in various configurations with my private small groups or the bigger tribe via audio, because that's how we usually work. And people come out of the shower and they don't have to worry about what they look like, and we do that. But this is thrilling to see the affect change and to see what's possible for people and to have your comments in the chat. So I invite you to continue writing down in the chat whatever is occurring to you that you'd like to be known. And while I'm not watching it as we go, because I'm not able to bring my attention here to the work and there, it is being registered. Nadja, I know, thank you for how you were helping people in the chat yesterday when they had questions. I really appreciate that very much. And I will say, let's see, what will I say? Before we do that, we looked at what the chat was and we have some themes that came up that may or may not be part of the attention that we bring for today. I'm not going to do half an hour of talking because we had that preamble yesterday. It's not required. And if you're new today and you didn't come yesterday, don't worry about that. You got the recording overnight. You can listen to the pre-work audio again, but we're not going to be taking questions about the how and the why it works on screen. We're just going to take inquiry and question about, wait a minute, I got stuck with this piece or that piece when you had a burning issue, so that we don't need to be moving into our top brain, into our cognitive thing about the what, the how, and the why. So in the same way that you would be willing to walk into a room and hit the light switch and take advantage of the light without having to understand how and why it works, how electricity works, I encourage you to come with that same spirit today as we just dive into the work. Another thing to know is that Peter mentioned to me in his experience of doing this in live workshops, it tends to speed up over time. Doesn't mean it's going to happen today or tomorrow, but he said that in prior workshops, sometimes by the end, by the last half hour of the day, lots of people come through because you've had more experience and people are opening up even more and more. So I could tell there were some little parts in there for people yesterday, some hunger, like, oh, I want him to get to me, and people are doing math. How many people can we see each day? You can release that and let it go. It'll be just fine.
Yeah.
Yes. And certainly based on the comments that we heard, I'm thrilled with your feedback, your generosity with one another, your praise for Peter, and just so excited about what might be possible today. So let's do, Nadja and Peter, you might want to cover your ears. This is a tradition we have. It gets a little bit loud, but what do we know? We know, since we're not listening to music, when the, oh, and you're on mute, you can't say it back. So when the energy goes up, the learning goes in. So go ahead and hit yourself off mute for a second. And there's probably a unmute all by, I don't hear it. Probably is. Go ahead and unmute yourself if you're willing to have a viewer muted. I'm sorry about that. But let's just raise the energy. A big woohoo on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Awesome.
Anthony.
Last week, we celebrate wins in this tribe. We really mark it to the unconscious mind. So when we're crossing finish lines or we're about to undergo something wonderful, we give the signal to our body and our brain, our conscious parts, that yes, in fact, this is celebratory. This is worth being open. Here we are, and let's all be in it together. And we bring the energy. So thank you for that. Boom. The other piece is I wanted to, even though the energy is up a little bit and I can feel the excitement, let's take just a moment to ground in the body, just for a moment. We can still keep our energy high with high curiosity, and we can turn our attention inward for just a moment, remembering that this is in fact a somatic process, not so much for your brain, as we just said. And noticing where you are, gravity is supporting you, feeling your feet on the floor today, paying special attention to grounding and the energy from down below. We have so many here in our community that are used to bringing the energy in from above and bringing it in. Right now, let's bring it in from the earth. So from the bottom, the life in the earth, consciously imagining it coming up through the earth into your feet and legs and up your whole torso and spine and out your arms and filling your body with that beautiful grounding energy of life. Thank you so much. Because today we're going to dive deeper, and we discussed before the tendency. Some of the people that asked very strongly to work yesterday have had a tendency in the past to do what I would call spiritual bypass, where we only want to own the spiritual side and we really want to disown and push away what we think are negative aspects. And we won't be doing that today, right? We're going to be embracing all of it in this beautiful new way. So bringing that energy up. And while we're here and tuned on the inside, I'd like to acknowledge those beautiful skeptical parts that were willing yesterday to step to the side. And I could feel it. I could feel so much opening and so much willingness and participation there and support that you brought to all of the work yesterday. And we invite you to attend again today, support your whole system with that watching energy, that careful watching energy, and also allowing energy and what might be possible if we were able to continue to lower those guard habitual defenses and just see what new ways might be possible for healing, growth, transformation, and all of the positive outcomes that you have for your person and your system. Thank you so much. Okay, and with that, we'll just invite everyone to come back into the room. Couple big belly breaths, in and out, noticing how great it feels to be alive and giving yourself a pat on the back, definitely some self-prizing for being so smart to get here into this space. Really, really wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so Peter, now this is quite interesting. In my speaker view, I am so not sure, Gail, why you are somehow pinned here. If one of my other hosts did that, we want Peter to be on screen, but I've got Gail from the UK on screen, so I'm not sure what.
This is Jennifer. If you want to make me a host, I can maybe help or co-host, but I think it's pinned on yours because we're not seeing Gail pinned.
Oh, okay.
So you might just go up to her picture, the little bars, in the right-hand corner, 3 little dots.
Smart. Thank you. Oh, now I see you, so it unpinned. Okay, Jen, and I did mean to make you a co-host. Actually, if Jolene, you can find Jen and make her a co-host, that would be grand. Unless that needs to be me. Apologies, everybody, but everybody in my tribe knows about me. Here it is. Me and this kind of stuff. I'll play to our strength and not this kind of stuff. More areas for me to reclaim. Okay, so again, now I've got Jen. So would you start talking, Peter? Talk to me. Here it is. Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. And as we're getting ready to dive in, you could begin to raise your hand if something was burning that came up for you as a function of our work yesterday. So again, not so much a top brain idea, but what rose for you. And I will mention, thank you, I will mention what we saw yesterday in our themes, just so we have that here. So judgment, self-criticism, and personalizing the opinions of others was a lot of people, right? Being worried about what other people think and having that be part of the holdback. Resistance, we're needing control in a bunch of areas. Aging was a theme, business growth was a theme, and somebody else trying to control their money. Themes around self-care and prioritizing oneself rather than being a slave or a servant to someone else was a theme. And huge was fear of failing, shame, and making mistakes. So we know failure comes up quite a bit. So I see some folks, okay, I'm going to do as I've done before and read into the energy a little bit and also ask Peter's opinion. about where we should go. So we're not going strictly in the queue, but we are looking. But first I want to hear, Dee Terrell, you've raised your hand, and did you have change that you noticed overnight that you'd like to share with us? Not a, new people, but was there a shift that you'd like to let us know about?
I apologize. I was unmuting myself, so I didn't hear some of what you said. I really just had a question as to how this work actually integrates. Like, do you go through a period of like feeling like you're high up on the sky and then you come crashing down later, or how? I was just curious.
No.
Okay.
Do that, just that one question, and then we're not going to do questions. We'll go into work. But do you have that's not my experience at all. Peter, would you like to respond to?
It's very, very individual how people respond to this. But actually, so what happens is, you know, you keep in touch with these phrases and what they're doing with you in your body, actually. And as I said at the end yesterday, when it's totally integrated, then you can forget the phrases because they are reclaimed, they're part of you. But it's very individual. As I suggested yesterday at the end, you're likely to meet this situation which caused the difficulty with this particular situation with you before, but the phrase will help you to move through beyond that. And it may just, these situations may just look as if they're evaporating because they're not troubling you anymore. So that's the end result, actually, if it's working, if it's worked right through and working well. So it's like you can tick off this subject because it's not troubling you anymore, but it's an invitation for the next subject to come along. So don't think you're done, totally done, because this is your personal growth. You're going step by step. You're inviting the next one to come along. And I often say that what we're really doing is dissolving your problems, but actually but if it's really working well, you'll get bigger ones.
That's fantastic. That is what.
Yeah. So they're more worthwhile. Your problems will start increasing and they'll be more worthwhile.
Oh my God, that's so funny. And we talk about this all the time. I don't know if you have this in Europe, but America, there's a very famous carnival game called Whack-A-Mole. And I don't know if you have it, but you show up and there is a grid of little holes, and a mole will pop, a fake will pop up under each one, and you have a hammer and you whack it down. And the moment you whack one down, another one pops up from some random area, and then you whack that one down. And so this tends to be our experience of this kind of work, but it's wonderful because the moles are coming from deeper and deeper levels, and they are bigger problems, as you mentioned. And apologies, it's another tech thing. Nadja, I saw your thing. Can another host unpin me and Peter from the front, because I want this too.
I think you need to make somebody else host. I think as co-host, I don't think I can do it as co-host.
Okay, then I'm gonna make Jolene.
Well, maybe it was simultaneously, but I removed your pin. Wait.
I still have Peter and Wendy as pins, and whoever else is speaking is very small and they will not show up in the recording.
Yeah, I can pin Wendy, which would put Wendy up there by herself, but I can't unpin Wendy and Peter for some reason.
Somebody tell me where the function is and I can do it.
Go look on your actual, like
I didn't actually pin this. I don't know how this
your
happens.
screen, the picture of you. Go up to the right-hand corner. There'll be 3 little dots. And then you should get a drop-down menu, and pin or unpin should be one of the options.
I just have pin as an option, which I don't want to hit. So apologies.
There's a at the top right of the screen, there's also a one called view. If you go to view and change to pin to gallery, that'll put you back into the whole widescreen.
But
That's what I had to do to unpin.
Okay, that was gallery, and now we're back in speaker, but I'm still pinned with Peter, and we want the speaker view for this recording.
I think whoever did the pin has to undo the pin.
It was not me.
It was
So,
not.
my only co-hosts are Peter, Nadja, Jolene. I'm so sorry, everybody.
Yeah, because yesterday I was able to do it, but then I undid it too, so I didn't have to do it.
Ah, God bless you, whoever did that. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So we'll take that out of the tape later, out of the thing. Beautiful. Okay, so I'd like to hear from several people about what's coming up for you. And let's see, Marcia, could I hear from you, please? Unmute yourself and let us know what you'd like to discuss.
Mine is an integrity issue having to do with my health. And so in a nutshell, it's being decades more of an alternative health person and not a big fan of Western medicine or big pharma. And I'm now in a situation with some health things that I'm going down more of a Western medical route. And so there's a part of me that feels like a fraud and out of integrity with myself. And I'm concerned that that's going to impact my healing.
Okay. Thank you for that. And that's the thing about fraud, that also comes up nearly on nearly everything all the time. So themes, thank you so much. And could I hear from you, please? If you could unmute.
Hello, good to see everyone. So what came up for me was something around getting attention and not getting attention, and getting credit and not getting credit. So being visible and not getting attention for it in some way. And then what also came up underneath was about being pretty. And am I pretty enough? And would I like what I saw? And then also being opposed to being pretty. So having an issue with that and my femininity. So there's a lot swirling around.
That's a really great one. And actually, I think that's where we're going. Let me just check, because that's such a thing. I can feel the connection to where we were yesterday, and it continues theme with visibility. We'll check with Peter in a second. Annie, if you could come off mute, and what were you wanting to explore?
I have got so many things swirling around too, but a lot of my, I think, issues come around feeling like a fraud. I know I am damn good at the work that I do, and my top brain tells me that, but I still feel like I'm going to be found out. I'm not good. Yeah, and that isn't just with work, it's with a lot of things in my life.
Great. Thank you so much. Got it. Those are both really strong themes. And looking to see, Dahlia, we'll let you write in the comments if there was something you noticed after yesterday, if that's okay. And Leisha, you're wanting my attention. Leisha, what's burning for you?
Thank you. Having what I want, not allowing what I want, and realizing that I will cast people in that role, or time killer activities, just anything to obstruct what I want.
And there's not a specific thing that you're wanting, it's just sort of this broad category.
Even getting ready for today, knowing that I had said yesterday that I would like to address choosing myself as a priority, and thinking, well, maybe I'll be allowed to do that, and wanting to just take care of myself in a certain way to prepare, and then just not getting to it, and intentionally sitting there intentionally, and I just can't have what I want, and it's huge block.
Okay, thank you, Leisha. I really understand that, feel into that.
Okay, thanks.
We could go several ways, Peter, and I'd like your input. I had Annie's thing of fraud is big, and we're going to get to that for sure in this 3 days. There's something in T's piece about getting attention and wanting it and not wanting it, and also appearance, because these are big themes in this group of largely women in this tribe. So Peter, thoughts? What speaks to you as where to go, whom to work with next?
I'll follow your intuition,
Okay.
Wendy.
So T, you have the floor. And if you could speak into that again so Peter can get the energy and then know where to begin to ask questions. Well,
Great.
thanks. Take it away.
Okay, thanks, Wendy. Thanks, Peter. So, Peter, what's the best way for me to talk about this?
Maybe if you can give a concrete, just describe a concrete situation.
Okay, great. So when I'm judging myself on a video, for example, it being visible, one of the things I look for is, do I look pretty? And I'm mad at myself that that's even a question about whether I look pretty. And then if I'm wearing makeup and my boyfriend says, oh my gosh, you look so pretty, I actually get mad and I say, why would you say that? It's just because I'm wearing makeup. So I'm also really mad about the idea that my boyfriend would think I look pretty when I wear makeup. Why doesn't he think I look pretty when I don't wear makeup, or when I'm, just rolled out of bed or something? I have this really feel like it's very tangled up view of my appearance and how I feel about it, and how what other people think of it feels way too important and also not important. It's very strange for me.
Mm-hmm.
And if I may add just information Peter's missing. So for your living, you are a public speaker, you are leading a tribe of women, a large one, have been for 20 years, around appearance and fitness and health. And so it's part of your brand. In addition, it's how people see you, it's what they aspire to. So your money is connected to this too, your liveliness, your reputation. So it's bigger than someone who's not in the public eye, maybe having these issues. I can know they're all wound together, and perhaps that's helpful, Peter. Or
yeah, thank you. It's an interesting background. I'm just curious, T, what happens when you feel you're ugly?
I want to hide, so it goes back to hiding.
Okay. Well, why don't we just start there and see what happens? So just try saying I'm ugly.
I'm ugly.
What goes on there?
It makes me feel a little bit sad.
Mm-hmm. So do you have a drive that you must be pretty?
Not exactly, because part of my feminism is tied into this idea that it's okay just to be me, however I am, naturally me. And I rail against like certain images of beauty and having to wear makeup and things like that. So I don't want to have to be pretty by society standards. It's very top brain right now, what I'm saying to you. I remember my mother, when I was a little girl, putting patches on my jeans that said M and S for Ms. That she really taught me this feminism of not it wasn't about my appearance.
Right. So so when you are beautiful, how would you know that you're beautiful?
The thing that comes up is when other people tell me that I'm beautiful. And yet that's also a source of where I get very angry if my boyfriend says I look beautiful, if I think it's for the wrong reasons, which has to do with makeup. It must be very complicated to be him, but yeah.
So but that doesn't quite yet answer my question. So when
how do I know?
Yeah, when do you know that you are beautiful? How do you tell?
Well, I'm definitely either looking in the mirror or Or like I said, somebody says, oh, you looked really beautiful in that photo or in that video. And I go back and look at it, but it still doesn't really answer the question.
No, because when your boyfriend tells you that, you don't really like it.
That's right. That's right. If I'm wearing makeup and I've dressed up, then I don't like it, which is I think it's bizarre. Something's tied in there. But it's a feeling I have when I look at myself that I think I look beautiful. It's not very often, I want to say, that I'm like, oh, you look so beautiful today. It's usually like, ugh, you know, that hair could use some work. Yeah.
So when you look at yourself in the mirror, naked,
yeah.
do you ever feel beautiful?
Yes.
So you are beautiful.
Yes.
So you see yourself as beautiful when you're naked. But it seems like there's something about, there's a message that needs to come to you so that you really know that you're beautiful.
Yes. And only sometimes, I want to say. It's not like every day I'm like, oh, beautiful. Only sometimes.
Mm-hmm. So try just saying, we'll just experiment and explore. I'm beautiful, whatever anybody else thinks.
I'm beautiful no matter what anybody else thinks.
Yeah. What happens with that?
That feels good.
Okay.
Really good. Yeah.
Good. So let's go into the other polarity. I'm ugly.
I'm ugly.
What happens there?
It almost feels like, well, it feels like I'm telling a lie. I more want to believe the other one, that I'm beautiful no matter what anybody else thinks.
Yeah, but both are true, of course.
Right, of course.
So I'm you know, we're going to go along the line to give you permission to be ugly. Imagine.
Great.
I'm ugly.
I'm ugly.
Let me tell you a little story. I met a woman on a plane once coming back from the United States. It turned out she was from a community that I know very well in Germany. And was a young lady about 19 years old. And we landed in Zurich, where I live in Switzerland. And and I said, well, you don't know your way around. Let's meet up, and in a few days' time. So I met her a few days' time. I found out that she was living in the red light district. She'd found a place to live in the red light district of Zurich. And I said, my goodness, you must watch out. You're in a rather dangerous place. And she said, well, I'm not worried at all. She said, I see all these men coming around. So I said, well, how do you handle that? And she said, oh, it's no problem at all. When they approach me, I just tell them I've got diarrhea. So I'm ugly, and it can be really useful to be ugly. So I'm ugly, and I give myself permission to be ugly.
I'm ugly, and I give myself permission to be ugly.
What goes on there?
Yeah, it feels like it's slowly sinking down my body. Like it started off, it was only allowed up here. Mm-hmm. And now it's penetrating deeper, like it's gone down to the middle of my solar plexus.
Great. Very good. So when you reject, when your boyfriend says, oh, aren't you pretty with all your makeup? And you say,
that's it exactly.
That's you unconsciously making yourself ugly at that
For
moment.
sure. That's right. It's so true. I was thinking about my behavior is so ugly sometimes. I was thinking that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So now, you can go and you can enjoy it. Imagine next time that he tells you you're pretty, you just do the same thing, but you enjoy it this time.
Wow.
And say, oh, this is, and guess what? He'll find it so pretty. He'll tell you how pretty you are, okay? So I'm ugly, and it's really good to be ugly. It's really great.
I'm ugly and it's really good to be ugly. It's really great.
Yeah. And I think if you're giving courses in appearance, this is what you also need to be teaching.
Right.
Because unless you know how to be ugly, you can't know how to be really beautiful.
Right. Right.
So I hope you'll send me my commission for this.
I love that, Peter.
You'll be getting 5 times as many people now who want to learn how to be beautiful.
Wow.
May I?
Yeah. Go ahead, Wendy. Yeah.
Jump in because so Tina and I have done, we did a project in December and January together, and 140 people from our collective tribes were interested in this, particularly around fitness. And so I'm curious if you shift it and it's just I'm fat. Like, is there a
Oh, Wendy, you had to say that.
connected to the and it's connected to the visibility and on the, you know this. I share those issues. On a good day, I'm fine to be visible. On an ugly day, I don't want to be visible. And I know there's so many people in here that are watching right now, stealthily going, please God, talk about that, because it's
Oh my God.
in time. I know it because we had 140 people in our program a couple months ago, which lets you know. So Peter and T, any places to go with that? Is it just I'm fat and that's okay, or how do we do that?
Yeah, I'm fat. It's okay. I remember Liza Minnelli came to Switzerland, to Zurich once on stage, and she had the greatest group of women with her singing and dancing. And they were all sizes, I can tell you, from skinny to fat. And the way they danced and everything, there was just beauty. There was just pure beauty coming out of all of them, because they were just who they were. That was all there was to it, doing what they were doing. And it had nothing to do with shape or size or anything. It was like the energy they were exuding at that moment being really who they were. There's nothing else than that. So I'm fat, yeah. How's that go, T?
Oh my God. I'm like, ah! Wendy she just got it. That's like the worst thing. So, but it is true. So I'm fat and it's okay.
I mean, one can't see the whole of your body on screen. One wouldn't guess that you are fat from looking at you like that, but you feel fat?
Do I? No, I don't feel fat, but I have felt fat for sure.
You're fat when you feel puffy or inflamed, or do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah.
And even if I gain just a few pounds, Peter, I will feel fat. So I do have like a neurotic obsession with body in some way.
Right. So this is probably a good phrase for you. I'm fat, and I give myself permission to be fat.
Oh my God. I'm fat and I give myself permission to be fat.
So breathe into that.
Right? I was just thinking, I just held my breath.
Take all the space that it needs. I'm fat and ugly,
I'm fat and ugly.
and it's wonderful.
And it's wonderful.
Okay. You see, when you laugh like that, just so that you know and everybody knows, when you laugh like that, this reclamation work is doing its work. It's not going through your head. What's happening is that this laughter is the muscles of your body are actually relaxing.
Mm.
And when they relax enough, it goes into laughter, which is a very, very good sign. So it's like this work works. You're telling yourself a lie, but this work works through the meaning in your head. But actually, it's the vibration also of these phrases, and your body picks up on the vibration instantly. And as Wendy was suggesting yesterday, it works quicker than your mind can figure out, which is why this works, thank goodness, because the body is picking it up, knows it instantly, and your body is doing stuff, and it's working. So I'm fat and ugly, and it's really super. It's amazing.
I'm fat and ugly, and it's really super. It's amazing.
Yeah. Something's happening now. What's going on right now in your body? What are you feeling?
Well, it's dropping, it like that thing, it just dropped into my stomach and down. I can feel my feet on the ground now. Like I feel like, boom, I'm solid.
Yeah. Yeah. You're very attractive right now. What happens when I say that?
I'm like, am I? How could I be? Like, oh, funny.
Peter, may I add something Nadja taught me right here just to check for our whole tribe?
Yep.
Yeah. So everybody that has this as an issue, which is I know all around the room, go ahead and play with us. And Nadja taught me this about this kind of crazy gorilla tapping. So,
Yeah.
so T, go ahead and say this out loud with me, and everybody else, just do it, and do it while you're say, I am fat and ugly. That's fantastic.
I am fat and ugly. That's fantastic.
I'm so fat and so ugly, and that's just wonderful.
I'm so fat and so ugly, and that's just wonderful.
I'm fat and I'm ugly, and it's an advantage to me.
I'm fat and I'm ugly, and it's an advantage to me.
I'm fat and I'm ugly, and I can be visible like this.
Oh, I'm fat and I'm ugly, and I can be visible like this.
I'm fat and I'm ugly, and it's just dandy.
I'm fat and I'm ugly, and it's just dandy.
And hands over your head, so one on one side, one on the other, just really crazy, all over. I'm so fat and I'm so ugly, and it's just fantastic.
I'm so fat and I'm so ugly, and it's just fantastic.
What's happening for you now? What's it like in your body?
It's moving everywhere. I can feel like my hands, and I feel everything.
Yeah, really good. Nadja, do you have any other things you notice about this, being a woman?
Thank you, Wendy. Well, one thing that I just thought, if any of you have issues with this, try to think back if there were any sentences that people told you when you were growing up in your childhood or as a teenager. For example, having had a long-standing eating disorder from 16 to 27, one of my parents, of course, as a joke, said, "Oh, you have legs like an elephant." And you know how those things sink in when you're that age. So look for any of these kind of statements. So for me, fat is nearly too unspecific. Like I need to say I have legs like an elephant, and it's great. Right? So that might be even a fine tuning in your own inner messaging system.
When I was 3, my nursery school teacher said, "Oh my God, you weigh so much. Did you have rocks for breakfast?" And that's the one that like really is like, oh, it weighs so much.
Perfect. Take that.
Mhm.
Nadia, thank you. That is fantastic. I can see so many other implications for me and for my tribe around this one. I have one more question. When you started this inquiry, you were speaking into the first part I actually grabbed energetically was the other half than the pretty, but it was the visibility. Kind of not safe to be visible, kind of sometimes wanting to be visible and sometimes wanting to hide. As you notice this now, I am fat and ugly and it's wonderful. Does that inform I am visible and it's, or whatever your statements were around that, like you're feeling
Right. Well, what I'm curious about, Wendy, in my top brain is like, would I be willing to just jump on video if I woke up feeling fat and ugly now? Like it's actually feels like that could be a possibility and that I might even say something about that in my video, you know, like, so that would be, I mean, giant if that were possible.
It would be giant. And what I'll say here for the room is you and I had a conversation after you were producing content for these 100
Mhm.
you had shared with. And I went back and I said, I could feel something in the room one of the days because you had a picture that looked like that you said was a before picture, but you looked so gorgeous in it. I was like, it was alienating a lot of the women because they were tanking, thinking I could never look as good as her. What's the point, you know? So there might be an advantage. This is a sticky issue for me. I don't go on camera without makeup either. So thank you for being brave and doing this. Peter, do you have other notices here for T? I don't know where
I
Peter.
think what's happening is beautiful. And I think you're beautiful, whatever anybody else thinks. So I think you're all beautiful. It's going very well. I don't think I've got anything more to say. And I love Nadia's input here too. It's super. Absolutely. It's just T. If you have anything, do you sense anything more that needs to be worked with or on? I mean, I think your question around visibility is super. I would just go ahead and do it. Whatever you're
It's crazy, Peter, right?
whatever you're feeling, just allow yourself to go on and be visible, and you'll see it'll work out. It'll work out. And maybe this is the challenge that you're presenting yourself right now, which I would encourage you. It needs a little bit of courage, but just trust it and go for it. And you'll see particularly around the subject of appearance, it'll be incredibly welcomed by all the people who are concerned about their appearance if you're courageous enough to show yourself that way.
Reminds me, Peter, of what you said yesterday, which really sat with me, of when you're in your genius zone, you I don't know exactly how you said it, but you can't be harmed. You're fully in your power. It reminds me of that you're beautiful, that you're, you know, something. Yeah.
And you're allowed to be vain at the same time.
To
stand in your vanity.
That's a really good one. And you just nailed that, Peter, because you said to me the part about being a feminist and I'm not supposed to care. That's the antithesis of that, right? So to own
exactly.
Flat out vain, that's fantastic. Brilliant.
So you can put on all your makeup at the same time and be fat and ugly and whatever fits for the moment.
Wow.
I'm going to ask one more question here. I'm going to underline, Peter, what you just said about when you want to be visible, just do it. Just have some courage and do it. For people, I can feel that a little bit of confusion. So in other words, if you are wanting to be visible or there's an opportunity to be visible, and then you instead, you're feeling anxious, say, about that, or you're having shame feelings, would the prescription be, or the recommendation be, I'm feeling ashamed and that's okay?
You shouldn't force yourself into anything. So I'm encouraging you, but in the moment, you need to be clear with yourself.
Say
So,
more.
you know, we come back to hiding again. If it's necessary to hide, you hide, and you don't do it. You don't, but the main thing is to have that, the main thing is about the clarity in that moment. So you know, what I'm sensing with you, T, is that it would be really exciting to do it.
It would be exciting. What an unleashing, Peter. If no matter how I felt or how I looked, if I could be loved and seen and my message could be heard, no matter what, and I felt brave enough to be that way. I really do want that for everybody also, that they felt the same way about that.
Yeah. So that's what I'm tuning into with you.
Mhm.
And it, in a sense, you just have to sort of step off the cliff to do that.
Right.
But it feels very exciting
beautiful.
to do that. But for somebody else, they might not be quite ready yet, and we wouldn't want to push them off the cliff if they're not ready. That's what I mean by the clarity. You know, you have to see, you know, am I really ready to? Am I really clear about this, or am I forcing something which is really going against the grain? And you know, the decision, the final decision, can be quite subtle here. But at that moment when you don't even know exactly when the moment is, but it feels very ripe for you, T, just to jump. You know, where you're standing at the edge of the cliff, and you feels to me you're pretty ready to jump, and it'll be great.
Thank you, Peter. That's exactly how it feels. It feels very exciting and uncharted. And wouldn't that be great if it were so much easier to be visible like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Does that respond, Wendy, to you too? You
Gave me what I needed, the piece about, because I could feel people saying, what? But that you just explained the clarity and sort of how to perceive it. So we're not jumping to a different polarity that we force ourselves to do something that we really don't want to do, but there's an inquiry there and a way to tune in to perceive more, you know, oh, there's a new way I can act in this moment, and it feels clear to do it, and I have an impulse.
Yeah.
So that you can go follow that impulse. Mhm. Beautiful. You don't know how many people you're helping heal with this. And I get all the letters from everybody in the chat, and this is really, really quite beautiful. Thank you, T. I'm curious to know who here is there anything burning for anyone out of this discussion before we move to a different topic? Does anybody have that? You could raise your hand now. I'm not seeing a bunch of hands. You might be at rest with it.
Wendy, so Jennifer and Shelley and Annie and Deborah have their hands raised.
Okay. And are you, so I can't see those.
Jen and Shelley have been waiting for a while.
Okay. So Jen, do you have, thank you, now I see. So Jen, is it coming off the heels of what we just saw with T? Go ahead and unmute yourself, let us know.
No, it's interesting because, you know, I'd shared with you yesterday that I had something big come up and have been working on that. And I wasn't able to get through it because every time I'd start the statements on it, I would fall asleep. And so it's clearly something big, but this piece with T is how it shows up for me, is in eating. I'm going to get fat. I'm going to be ugly. I'm like all that stuff. And so I just really think it's powerful how witnessing someone else's thing can really like help the pieces fall together. And I didn't even realize for me that part of my thing was I'm so terrified that I will be quote unquote fat because people won't love me, that, and I don't like to consciously think it. So now that it's up present, I can actually work through that. And in reality, you know, I just lost 30 pounds and part of me is freaking out and I'm working on gaining it back. So this is really relevant, and you know, I feel out of control around it. So now I have like some hope that I can get some peace around it. And so thank you.
Thank you. Actually, Peter, would you be willing to play with Jen just for a minute? Because I can feel that energy up too. And I know it was very big and it's right here in the room now. So in a situation she has, is there any What's a reclamation or an inquiry where we could go to support that?
So is it around your weight or your health? You were saying?
Sorry, I'm gonna cry. There's just a lot of energy around it. My health, how I look, but my health, and the healthier I get, the more I have this, like literally, like I feel like a monster takes over me, and I'm just eating, and it makes me feel horrible, like physically horrible, mentally, foggy, and then I feel bad because I'm sabotaging myself. And right now my roommate's 36 years old and just diagnosed with renal cancer, and I'm very clear that I can't always get away with this. Like the mortality, I guess mortality is really up for me, and I'm just seeing myself undoing all the good things I've been doing for myself. And I'm afraid it'll kill me in the long run.
So you're sabotaging yourself.
Because honestly, there's a part of me that's so tired, it doesn't want to be here anymore. And I'm not suicidal, but there's a part of me that just wants to go to sleep and not wake up because I'm so tired, like on a soul level tired. And so it plays together, like that one part of me really wants to live and be healthy. And there's another part that's like, I just can't do life how I've been doing life anymore. So it's like it plays off each other.
Mm-hmm.
And the struggle piece yesterday really like brought that up. It's just, there's just been I can name since I was 2, I've been in constant struggle.
Okay.
So
since you were 2.
Yeah. Before that though, I remember a lot of my life, actually. I'm one of those strange people. There was absolute, like, I knew I was a superstar, I was loved, everything was great. And then like my dad left my mom and all one day, and then like kind of checked out of my life, and everything came crashing down that day.
And you still remember that before you were 2?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember walking around at some point knowing I was the first grandchild on one side and I was the first child of my parents. I just knew I was awesome. I remember walking around, like I had grandparents around, just kind of like, great. Like it just, like, that was my life before that. That's how I saw the world. I was very blessed to have the first 2 years be so loving and supportive.
And then your parents separated or divorced?
Yeah, my dad left my mom, and she was 6 months pregnant with my sister. So she immediately had a baby, and I kind of went from getting all the attention and love to like none of it. Mm-hmm. My mom still loved me, but with a 2-year-old and a new baby, you can only give so much attention.
Yeah. And then, so there was just the 2 of you then, or were there more children after that? Did your mother remarry or have more
my mom
children?
eventually remarried, and I got 2 older stepsisters, like when I was in 3rd grade, but they were 9 and 10 years older than I was. They were already in college by the time our parents married. So, and later my dad had more kids, but I never lived with any of them except the one sister that came.
Your real dad or your stepdad?
My stepdad. My real dad had 2 more kids later. I never lived with them. And they're quite a bit younger, like 9 and 15 years younger than I am.
Mm-hmm. So your life kind of, your existence and life sort of fell in at age 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I will preface that with my dad went off with someone who was, we now know had mental health issues, and she was not great to be around. And he's subsequently married another woman who has done her best to cut all of his kids out of his life. So that's where a lot of the struggle is, a lot of relational struggle.
But you stayed with your ma, not with your dad.
I lived with my mom, and when we lived in the same town, I'd see him every other weekend. And then when we moved, it was holidays and spend the summer. So I'd spend, like 3 months at a time with him, and then like a week or two here and there.
Right. And they still alive, your parents?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it feels like a bit like a life and death situation.
Yeah, it occurs that way.
Yeah. So let's just start there. Let's just see what happens if you say, I am dead.
I am dead. Once some voice in my head just said, yay. Which I have to acknowledge, I feel so weird because I really am not a suicidal person, and hearing myself say it, I'm like, you sound like you want to kill yourself, and that's bad. So that's just naming that's coming up for me.
So I'm
'Cause
dead.
I'm not brave enough to kill myself, honestly. I could never.
We're not talking about killing yourself.
No, but I'm just naming that so I can get it out of my head because it's
okay.
in my top brain.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just go with this phrase. I am dead.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be a good phrase for you, actually.
Yeah.
I'm dead, and it's okay.
I am dead and it's okay.
What is it doing with you, this phrase?
It's like there's a kind of like a bocce ball sized mass in my chest right now, just a pressure.
But it's just come because you're thinking about it. Before it came, you felt it looked pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
So go back there. I'm dead, and I give myself permission, and it's perfectly okay to be dead.
I am dead and I give myself permission, and it's perfectly okay to be dead.
Because what you've been trying to do is become alive all the time when you're feeling dead, right?
Yeah.
So just allow yourself to be dead.
I feel physical relief, like relaxing through my like my chest and my shoulders.
Yeah. How does that feel?
Yeah. Like just less pressure.
Yeah.
Like that weight I always feel is lifting.
Yeah. So just allow yourself to enjoy that feeling right now.
Yeah.
Just give yourself the time and the space to enjoy that feeling. I'm dead, and it's perfectly okay to be dead. This is quite profound. Just everybody watching can allow yourself to get into this state of deadness. It's like winter. That's all.
Yeah.
We have seasons. So we have spring in our soul. We have summer in our soul. We have autumn when we go into depression.
Yeah.
And if we try to avoid the depression, we go into perpetual depression, hoping for spring.
Yeah.
But actually what we're really heading for is winter. And winter is, if you look at nature, winter is completely dead. So we need to go through the journey, this cycle of the soul. And it's wonderful to allow ourselves just to be dead, where nothing is moving.
When you said that, I had another, when you said when nothing is moving, I had another level of like relaxation hit my body.
Yeah. Whereabouts in the body? More deeper down, right?
Well, it was still my chest, but like before it kind of moved out this way and now it's moving down.
Yeah. Very good. So it's really totally okay to be dead. And the paradox is that anybody watching you right now on screen, this is the paradox. They're watching you come alive.
Yeah.
So this is the paradox. By saying you're dead and actually enjoying your deadness, you're coming to peace don't you feel there's a sort of internal peace growing in you?
Yeah, I do, because I was on a call before this, and we're talking about some inner child stuff, and this man said his inner 12-year-old has just been trying to figure out how to live this whole time, like how to be alive and not die. And I really resonated with that.
Resonated. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, it's your story.
yeah. And when
So
I
I'm-
think back to that 2-year-old, it was
Yeah.
like death. And I've been trying to climb out of that ever since. So this feels really great.
Yeah, you didn't allow yourself, and you couldn't, at 2 years old, you couldn't allow yourself the pain of that experience.
No.
This is actually what happens. So it was a good thing that you didn't allow yourself that, because it would have been too much for you at that age.
Yeah.
But now you can allow yourself the pain of that experience.
Yeah, I can't.
This is where you're at now. And you can say, I'm dead, and it's perfect. It's wonderful. I'm dead now. And you can allow yourself even to feel the pain of that experience from being this awesome child who was full of life, and allow yourself to go into being dead right now. And it's absolutely perfect.
Thank you.
And you can allow yourself to be dead while you're alive, you see,
Yeah.
because this will be very helpful in, I think, many life situations that you're dealing with, probably.
Yeah. It comes in terms of money, some relationships, just
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just allowing yourself to relax into being dead, and not feeling that you have to move when you don't feel like moving.
Yeah. That's huge, because I move when I don't feel like moving a lot, and then it gets me into trouble eventually.
Yeah. It wears you out.
It's literally almost killed me before, so I got so
Yeah.
sick. So yeah, I'm present to the need to not do that.
Yeah.
I'm getting better at it.
Yeah. But the phrase, I am dead, will help you in
Yeah.
those moments when you feel you have to, you see.
Hmm.
This is where this phrase can come in. You remind yourself, I'm dead. It's perfectly okay to be dead right now.
Yeah. I'm writing this down.
Yeah.
You said use it in the moment that I feel like I need to move, like, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just say it's wonderful to be dead. I'm dead right now. And it's perfectly okay. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you.
And now we go to the other side, which is, of course, being alive.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you again, how would you know when you're alive? What do you associate being alive with?
Feeling free.
Feeling free. Okay. So you just try saying, I'm alive whether I feel free or not.
I'm alive whether I feel free or not.
How does that, what happens there?
I kind of felt that same pressure in the same spot, like, but not as big. It's much smaller, maybe like golf ball size now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Maybe we'll just, I just want to experiment with shifting the terms a little bit.
Okay.
We'll go back to being dead, but I'd like you to say it in another way. Just try saying, I don't exist.
I don't exist.
What happens there?
Big sense of relief, like just felt like that kind of breakup right
Yeah.
here.
So I'm dead and I don't exist, and that's wonderful.
Yeah. I am dead and I don't exist, and that is wonderful.
Yeah, that seems to land very, very deeply.
Yeah.
That's very good. So now we go to the other side and just say, I exist.
I exist.
Now, how would you know when you exist?
Other than I think and I feel and I'm here. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, I'm having a physical experience, so, and I'm conscious of it, so I must exist on some level.
So it's like Descartes. I think, therefore I am, or something like that.
Yeah. I can perceive, I'm aware. Yeah. I would say, I know that thinking isn't always the best thing in the world,
Yeah.
but
So
I
it's
perceive.
okay.
So,
So Trey's saying, I exist whether I think or feel or not.
I exist whether I think or feel or not.
Mm-hmm.
It was a mix of like, I felt that pressure and like the pressure didn't go away, but something else also released. It was kind of both.
Uh-huh. Can you describe what released? Are you able to?
Other than the physical sensation, I can't say what it was about.
Okay.
Just yet.
Okay.
Can we say the statement one more time? Because it.
Well, I exist whether I feel and whether I have physical sensations or not.
I exist whether I feel or have physical sensations or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was still that little like, kind of, there was like a little sharp poking right here, like a little jab from the inside.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so like yesterday, let's just put your hand there. Because you exist whatever, you see.
Yeah.
I exist whatever I'm feeling, whatever I'm thinking, and whether I'm feeling, even feeling that little thing in my chest or not, I exist.
I exist no matter what I'm thinking or feeling, even regardless of this little thing in my chest or not, I exist. Yeah, that felt like neutral.
Mm-hmm. Good. I just want to check in with Nadia if she's got something to add here. Nadia, you're on mute.
Okay. No, I should be loud. I was just curious there because one of the first statements at the beginning of your exploration was also about the active act of I'm killing myself, and I wonder if there's something there as well, and sort of because I was thinking that in a way it's kind of interesting, like if I live, I'm killing myself. Like I cannot be alive without simultaneously also killing myself. And I wondered if there is something there about this active act of killing yourself that you need in order to be fully alive.
I mean, that resonates because it does occur as, being alive is a constant, like kind of a constant act of killing myself, the way I've done life anyways.
Well, I would even claim the way any of us can do life, right? As long as we're alive, like every day our cells die, we're growing older, all of that is happening. So the only way to stay alive is to be okay with killing yourself a little bit every day. Yeah. So, that was one thought to complete the more passive, I don't exist, with this active, and I'm killing myself and it's good.
So we could actually include this in this statement saying, I'm alive whether I kill myself or not.
Yeah, I like that. It really resonates.
So that you don't have to kill yourself to be alive, but you can if you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know that very well, you see. But try saying it. I'm alive whether I kill myself or not.
I'm alive whether I kill myself or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it's funny, there's kind of like a sense of like feeling almost like a little punch here, but then it kind of dissipated out. So
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. Thank you.
Feels very as if it's sunk. Thank you,
Yeah,
Nadia.
it's like the okay to be killing myself part, I think is, the
Yeah.
final little,
Yeah.
because I'm doing it anyways, right? So.
Wendy, anything?
Just mind blown officially again. The healing that's occurring, I can perceive all the waves going out. I did not read the chat. Jolene, you might in a minute share some of the highlights because people have been so supportive here, Jen, and it's doing so much for everybody. And it's definitely creating incredible freedom for me personally. The idea of it's okay to not eschew being dead or all of it, right? The killing myself piece, Nadia, that's just gorgeous that the cells are dying every day anyway. And to just really add all of it in. And that's beautiful, Peter, that we can be alive with or without killing ourselves is quite an interesting thing. So there's just so much. I'm also aware there are a couple people who I haven't heard from, but I raised their hands and I think are pinging off this quite loudly that I'm curious to check with if that's okay.
Yeah.
So Dan, if you could come off mute. Dan M.
So we stay with Jennifer at the moment, but we're just checking the room. We're still with you, Jennifer.
Thank you. And Jennifer, if you do me a favor, it's better now, but 5 minutes ago, my body was screaming for your body to please do some gorilla tap. Just
Okay.
add,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just so working, and this will add the silliness chemicals into integrate, and that makes me happier. Okay, so Dan,
Yes.
what are you noticing? What came up for you during this?
A big, it didn't at first, but later it came up. A big, deep one for me is feeling abandoned. When I was small, I was adopted, and so they put me in a foster home for a while, and then I got home with my family, and so I'm supposing there was some connection to people and others that was missing, and so that's where what was coming up for me is a feeling abandoned.
Well, and we heard that in Jennifer's story from after with the pre-age 2 and then after and what that was like. And that
Exactly.
was pinging all over the room, this feeling of I'm abandoned. And so that went a different road, right? The outcome creates this place that you're in touch with, right? So for her, the I'm dead is the reclamation that leads to the big freedom. And for you, this place about abandoned, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
So Peter,
Yeah.
is that something to, what do you notice there or anything to attend to?
I'd say I would continue around the room at the moment. We can come back to that maybe, but I would stay with where we are with the phrases of I'm dead and I'm alive, I exist, I don't exist, just for the moment.
Okay.
So Tara, was your question or comment or notice related to this dead and alive piece?
It was around like doing and being. It seemed to somehow feel into the same field somehow. That's what came up for me.
Can you just give us sentences, a couple more sentences about how that lives for you, and then we'll continue on. Yeah.
So having to have something occur to you, you have to do it in order. It's that sense of that push from inside. You have to do something with this. You have to produce. And then the opposite is that being, that feeling of ground zero.
Gorgeous. Thank you. So that feeling, when you heard those words, I can be dead or alive, you got the being and doing, like this push. You could stop the striving, which is what came up for you when you heard dead, but that's where your language of it, right? Yes.
In a way. So the being is I had the same feeling, yes, when you hit the ground, and yeah. So I think that's, yeah.
Perfect.
It's around performance, isn't it?
Yes.
You don't have to perform anymore. You don't have to. There's not this drive to perform and produce.
Yes, when in that being state. Yes, that falls away.
Yeah. And that feels like a relief.
Oh, immense. How'd you guess?
It's interesting to me too, how these are all inextricably wound together as we're in this field together, kind of co-creating, because the piece T had about performance and visibility and all that actually winds back to this, and the dead and the live and the cost and the be and the do. They're actually all wound together. It's quite interesting. Yeah.
So what, you know, in my physical live seminars, but we're doing the same here, I often talk about what we're really doing here is we're creating a mosaic, actually. It's like each little piece fits with each other little piece, and at the end one has a picture of a whole, and each group is, or each time it's a very individual mosaic, but it's like the pieces sort of, at the beginning you just have the first stone, and then there comes the second one, the third one, and then somehow you see how they are linking together and you have a whole picture at the end. That's what we're doing. We're building a collective mosaic here.
It's breathtaking.
And it's interesting, the relationship between the mosaic analogy and the disco ball, like they're both little pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank you for that. Yes.
Wow. Thank you. Leisha says her heart is so full. She feels so much love. Boy, we all do. Deborah, let's see. Shelley, did this ping for you? You could come off mute. This dead and alive piece.
Yeah, I have another piece of the mosaic that ties both T's and Jennifer's together. So I was more affected by skinny, and that related to me to being unhealthy and weak and dying. And so then, you know, I thought about, you know, the cancer and the concentration camps and no freedom. And so it all tied in together. Exactly.
So you have a lot percolating out of the discussion.
Yeah, but I think that was an additional piece, is the dying, and the dying.
Okay, thank you. I can feel it all. Just percolate, and your awareness expanding. Very good. Thank you, Shelley. I'm curious, as Peter said, about what came up around these statements. Deborah, was your hand raised from before, or is it connected to this? Thank you.
It was connected more to T's, really. So I can wait if you.
Okay, perhaps we'll hang on, because I don't want to move the energy unless.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
So the suggestion is actually, what's really interesting is to see what happened to you when you said internally these phrases to yourself. That's the sharing that we're looking for here, actually. You know, what did you notice with yourself went on? So
my legs are just trembling, just trembling.
Trembling, yes. Throughout your whole body, Shelley?
Just my legs.
Okay. Yeah. So these are all, you know, if something is happening either emotionally or physically, it's actually a good sign, whatever it happens to be, because it shows that the reclamation work is actually working. Your body knows what to do here. So you just allow this movement to occur, because it's like there's a German man called Bert Hellinger. He calls it the movement of the soul, but it's like the body, your body is knowing what it needs to do at this moment. You just let it do it.
Thank you. Again, I'm just astounded by what's happening in my universe. And I'm curious then, so that's a really helpful directive. What we're looking for right at this juncture is what came up for you on the inside when you asked these questions of yourself. And Lisa, I'm wondering, because I saw your hand come up new, was that your response or was it a different thing? Lisa M.
What I wanted to say was when I was listening to this, I've been writing notes because this is how I process. I see, I listen, I hear, I write. And what I realized was how many times I go dead. And it's like sometimes waiting for the right information or something like that. But it felt like that's what we do. We go dead. Don't know where to go, how to make it work. And it's almost a time where we don't quite know where to go, but we never made it okay to be dead. Right?
Right.
We never ever made that okay. We beat the crap out of ourselves when we would do that. And this is a time in which it's like, oh my gosh, this is part of the process. As Peter talked about, the seasons of the soul, spring, summer, then fall, then winter. And he made it like, it's okay. It's like we can tell ourselves it's okay to go there.
Beautiful.
Because from there we will spring. And I just want to say, that's what this reclamation work is. It's like springing back into our soul and being who we are meant to be. So thank you.
Incredible. Thank you. I had one more, and I could be wrong here. I saw something fly through the chat, but Laura L., did you have something come up for you on this when you said these statements to yourself? If so, you could come off mute. If not, if I got that wrong, it's okay. I saw something fly by that felt germane.
I don't know if I posted anything related to this. I did have, well, I did attempt suicide. So I definitely related to that. And I don't know if I have a problem with being dead or with being alive.
So what motivated your feeling of needing to take your life at that moment?
Well, I thought I had actually dealt with this. I lost a child, and I have a lot of guilt. And it was during that recovery process that I felt like I was a burden to my family, and that they would be better off.
Right. And how is that now? The idea of being a burden?
So when we did the burdensome yesterday, and calling your mother, my thought was that if I called my mother and asked her if I was a burden, she'd say yes. And if I said, "Isn't that fantastic?" she'd have a stroke on me. And I've played around with the being burdensome, being a burden to people, and that's okay. And it's helped. I can tell even since yesterday, in a work setting, some of the family relationship situations are different.
Great.
I think related to being dead though is more guilt.
So can you explain that relationship a bit more? So if you're feeling guilty if you're alive, or if you'd be guilty if you took your life, or where does the guilt come in?
Both. I feel responsible for losing the baby. I feel responsible for the pain that I did cause my family.
Can you repeat that? I didn't quite catch it. Or
I feel responsible for the pain that I caused my family.
for the pain you caused your family, is that possible?
I know that they were very worried about me. And that it was
So if they are worried about you, I mean, we dealt with the worry yesterday, being the worry, being the burden. But actually, if they are worried, whose worry is it?
it's theirs.
Yeah. So, but actually,
they worry about me.
Sorry, they're worried about you. Yeah.
They care. They love me, and I don't want them not to love me and not care.
Mm-hmm. So you've inherited this worry and this burden, like we actually had yesterday. You're a very loyal family member. It goes in your line. So your mother is an enormous burden and an enormous worry to you, actually. Is that not correct?
Yeah.
And you're an exceptionally good daughter because you've taken that on from her. But it's not really serving either you or her to maintain that.
That's very true.
So in other words, if you would, your fear is that if you become the worry and you actually become joyful with that, it's almost like breaking the religion in your family or with your mother.
It does feel disloyal.
Yeah, it would be totally disloyal. So try saying, I am disloyal.
I am disloyal.
How does that feel?
It feels constricting.
Mm-hmm. So yep. I give myself permission to be disloyal.
I give myself permission to be disloyal.
Because it's very important for you, you see? Because you are more conscious than your mother. You've done all this self-development work. Your mother hasn't. So you've got to be the leader in your family. Actually, it applies to everyone in this room. You know, this old thing that, you know, you've got to obey your elders was good for the industrial generation, but for this generation and generations that follow, the leadership comes from the people who are most conscious in the family. So you need to take that position or nothing really shifts. So what was it you said, if you were going to be a burden, if you told your mother that you're a burden and it's great, You said, what would she do to you, or would she do to herself?
She would have a stroke.
She would have a stroke, so you'd kill her too.
Yeah.
But actually, she needs permission to get out of her guilt, like you need permission to get out of yours. It's like, I mean, you're a good daughter, so you can imagine how she feels about you. She must be feeling terribly guilty to be having you in the way you are. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, I can see that.
So you know, you're in this sort of guilty, burdensome lineage. So I mean, you have the choice to stay there if you want, but you've developed yourself to the point where you can actually spring out, and either your mother will have a stroke, or at least you will help her to spring out if you spring out first.
Yeah, I suppose if I kill her, that's one way to get her out of the cycle.
I wasn't particularly suggesting that. Who knows? Put her out of her misery, all right, in all cases. She won't have to do a suicide then. You'll help her in that sense. Okay. So I think you're on a good track here. So you're being disloyal is really very, very important. It's very, very good to be disloyal here in this particular case, and not follow this pattern, which is actually pulling you down and pulling everything around you down. And I've got another take on this whole subject of guilt, which I would like to share with you and with everybody here, because what I feel about guilt is that we're never really guilty. We never feel guilty for the reason that we think we are guilty. So you think you're feeling guilty because you lost your child, but that's not the real reason you feel guilty. The real reason we feel guilty, if we do, is that we're not living our lives fully. Do you understand? So it's like guilt is a great feeling. It's actually an indicator that you, Laura, and anybody else who feels guilty about anything is not living their life fully. Because if you understand the disco ball, you have permission to do just about everything, even kill your mother, if it's really the appropriate thing to do. You can do everything and you won't feel 1 ounce of guilt, because it's impossible to feel 1 ounce of guilt when you're fully alive. But if you're not feeling fully alive, guilt is a sign and just an indicator that you're not fully alive. So the immediately that you start reclaiming stuff to become more and more alive, you'll see this feeling of guilt will start to evaporate. And it's got nothing to do with the outer circumstances. It's got nothing at all to do with the fact that you lost your child. You know, that's just the circumstances. And, you know, I don't know what happened. We don't even know what the circumstances are. But actually, you're even using that right now as a reason for not being fully alive. Do you understand? And in this room, we won't buy that. We won't buy your tears and feeling of guilt as a reason for not living fully. Because that, you know, you'll have many people around you that sympathize with you. And you can even find a sympathy group, if you like. There are plenty of sympathy groups you can join. But you won't find any sympathy in me or in my circles for that, because we don't buy it. We want to see you live fully. So, and that means enjoying being the mother, a burden, a worry for your mother, and going off in that direction. Is this speaking to you in any way? Does it make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I still don't know that I would call her up and tell her that, but
well, when
I feel like it might be more possible, closer to possible.
Well, we'll start at work or wherever you were saying it can be useful.
I'll try to tell anyone there.
You don't have to go with the highest challenge first, but just enjoy being, you know, the worry, the burden, or whatever it is, and of course the polarity of that. Because at the moment, you know, if you're not the burden, you're probably carrying other people who are a burden for you, right? The tendency will be to be surrounding yourself with other people that are burdens. So you can, you know, you can choose when you want to be the burden and when you want to carry other people. Because your guilt, you see, would make you want to try and make that good, and you'd be picking up other people who will be burdensome for you.
Right. And it's gotten better. Wendy and I've worked on that a lot, and it's gotten much better. But I can see clearly that's still a part.
Yeah. So, so we could go into the polarities, but right now I don't think we will be. Wendy, do you want to add something here, or take this in a particular direction? We've got, you know, the being a burden, being a worry, and this whole question of loyalty has come up. Being disloyal is in the space at the moment.
Yes, I think, well, I thought we could go back to Jennifer, actually, if that feels good, because we left that dangling thread.
Yeah.
But yes, loyalty burden. I'm just so astounded, and I'm seeing 5% of the chat, but this is providing a particular depth of healing that I've not seen possible for, and it's waving through this whole community. So the mosaic we are creating of new possibilities and healing is just astounding. This piece about guilt, that new distinction that you had about guilt, I'd never heard that before, and it's fantastic. I completely concur, but I'd never heard that before, that we're not guilty about the thing we think, that we're actually only ever really guilty about not living our life fully. And this is another impulse and another pull that the universe is moving us toward, an indication. So guilt is a good thing to be a wake-up call. Ooh, another indication I'm not living my life fully. Where might I do that? So it's profound. I'm just going to have to listen and listen and listen. And again, but in this moment, I thought perhaps to go back to
Jennifer.
And see how she's doing.
Jennifer?
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Just letting it all sink in. Like appreciating the work that was just happening, and also trying to kind of stay in my body. There's a little bit of me that just wants to float off into the ethers right now. So yeah.
Well, that's okay too.
Yeah, but feeling more relaxed, like sitting here realizing I'm like, you know, Wendy, you talk about markers, having markers for certain experience. I'm like, wow, I've got to create some markers for being in a state of living, not just trying not to be dead. So
that is, you won't need to consciously create them at all by stepping into that new way of being. So what I heard was a new kind of freedom. It feels like being unbound, and where there were shackles that you didn't know, these unconscious shackles, just uploaded them, right? So there for everybody listening, we do in my community talk about this idea of markers being these unconscious signposts, like you're going on a hike and you're in the woods and there's a marker that says this way to the mountain and this way to the river. And we're so used to them with all our unconscious programming and how our parts habitually manage things. And what my experience is from doing this reclaiming work is that a lot of the markers just go. when the shackles go. And so sometimes there can be a little bit of a tendency to want to look for them, unconsciously look, put it back in place. And that perhaps, Peter, is when you're repeating the phrases and as Nadia would say, finding both legs, and we're not trying to blend them together, by the way, and make one in the middle. No, you just you're both at the same time, like a yin and a yang. You've got the white and the black. You're not pushing it to gray, but you've got both existing at the same time and just sort of knowing which one gets expressed in a moment. So when the markers, as these new things change, there's also an experience on the inside I can feel. It can be like dominoes going down. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a row and you get freedom one and it can have a ripple effect all the way down, which is fantastic. And then unconsciously, if we try and look for what worked before, you can kind of be trying to, that's a habit. It's a habit of parts and self-care and manager parts trying to find their way. So we just bring this into the discussion of it's fine, just like it's fine to be dead, and it's fine to have no markers and feel a little like I'm maybe a little lost. I'm in a new land. That's okay, and just keying in if you're interested into that feeling of freedom that comes up. All the good. So for my community, where we look all the time at prizing and celebrating wins and what that does neurochemically when we put our attention there, just getting into the yummy of what's happening. And the other thing I would say, the only thing that was calling really forward for me, you did it. And when Laura was working, I encourage everybody to use Nadia's great trick of this tapping, because it just helps. It's not to take away the feelings that you're having. It's not to push them away at all or minimize them, but there's an integration in the body. And it's pretty hard for us to stay flooded in our drama feelings if we're also doing this at the same time. So it releases some of the significance, and you're not trying to do anything. You're not trying to change anything. We're just adding the body in, kind of as a thank you. And so I know when you've all heard me talk about self energy and parts energy, when we're blended with those exiled parts, we don't have enough space to be able to really maximize what's happening or be with it or live with it, right? So my experience just in this tiny bit of practicing is just adding something as silly as this creates a little space, right? So that we can be with it and the integration can happen in a more comfortable way. That was my only urge to speak about. Here's Peter, doing it as we're doing. So just add that.
This is I just wanted to acknowledge this is Nadia's invention.
Yes, well, yes, we were saying.
Acknowledge the source here.
Yes.
Well, thank you. And I just wanted to add one little piece, because I got a very lovely personal message here asking me about how exactly to tap and where to tap, and which, so the dark sides and the light side, and honestly, my answer is there's no method to the madness. In a way, I often use tapping to get people out of their story and back into their body. As Wendy, as you were saying, it's hard to stay connected to my drama when I'm trying to coordinate my hands. And then I say, no, you have to do it right? You have to tap with the right hand, the left part of the brain, and vice versa. And then my clients always go like, that moment, you're already out of the drama. So there's a piece of that as well, to bring in a little bit of that twinkle in the eye that Peter always has. And I think it moves faster when we do this work this way.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh my gosh. Beautiful. Thank you. So back to Jennifer. So how were you feeling now after all of this?
I'm feeling good. It's there's stuff going on in my body, but it's not bad. It just feels like energy moving around, and like I dropped a heavy load of carrying big weights or rocks, and now it's kind of like, now what do I do? How do I move through life without that? And so I mean I've been in this place before where it's a paradigm shift happens, and I know that for a while I just walk around kind of with new eyes, trying to figure out how to move in the world with the new perspective. So I know I can do it. It's just, it's slightly disorienting, but I don't mind the disorientation. So
yes. And what if you didn't have to figure out a thing?
Yeah. Well, I know that figuring it out doesn't actually like what I said, I need to figure out new markers. I mean, it's like I have to let myself create markers for this kind of experience, and it just happens through time.
Yeah. And I think what Peter's inviting us to is each moment. So you notice, okay, I'm feeling confused. I no markers. Okay. And
Okay. Yeah.
I'm feeling confused, and that's okay. I'm
Yeah.
feeling sad, and that's okay. I learned all of these for Peter too, is just being able to name the state that you're in.
Yeah.
Name it, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And
I've been doing that a lot actually anyways. And you know, in another part of my life, I'm in a, you know, new-ish relationship, and it's like the first really good one I've ever been in. And I definitely don't have markers for that. And I quite regularly feel completely disoriented, and I'm like, what is happening? Everything's been so good for so long. And it's hard to connect with it sometimes because I'm just like, whoa. And then I just let myself be there, and then I sink back in deeper. So I have that practice already going on. So I could just apply it to this.
Beautiful.
And it's a conscious choice of letting yourself have it. Like I'm letting myself have this. I'm not going to try to look for a way to blow it up or find what's wrong, or, you know, just let myself sit in this different sensation.
Well, and look at that shift from where you came up very authentically and vulnerably with where you were. And now there's such an okayness with, yeah.
That's what I appreciate about this work, because this is the third time I've done a reclamation when I feel like I'm in crisis. And within a matter of minutes, I go from literally feeling like the biggest existential angst I could feel to like, I'm good, you know, in a matter of a short amount of time. So I appreciate that.
It's quite beautiful.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Peter, Nadia, Wendy, everybody, T, like Laura, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have less than 15 minutes left. I'd like to honor and take the last 5 minutes for takeaways, because they so help everyone. And I'm aware that we went way over, and the poor European people, I really wasn't kind, but oh, you're okay.
No problem.
You don't care. Okay. All right. Then, what are your thoughts?
I'd just like to add, you know, I'm hearing a kind of, it's not a question, but something is coming to me like a question, which is, you know, when you do this work, does it last? And it applies, of course, to any change process. So I'd like to just speak to that a little bit.
Please.
And say, well, actually, the answer is no. but let me qualify that a little bit. So, you know, usually for years I've been giving 2-day money seminars, and people are always asking that after they come out with, you know, elated and saying, you know, what do I do? And I said yesterday, there's nothing you need to implement. Remember your phrases and use them when they're useful. But to be realistic, and everybody, I'm sure, in this space has been through change processes, what happens is that you can feel very full with the change that is taking place inside you. And you can feel extremely optimistic with this. And then you go out with this. And what are you likely to find? That even the people around you that have been trying to get you to change for all these years, when you finally do, they don't really like it. You know? And they try to put you back in the box that you were in before, or they thought you were in before, even if they didn't like that, because that's what they've been used to. So it's one of the things when you do a change like that, you must expect that there can be some resistance around, even if you're a much more friendly and nice person or a happier person. Not everybody is happier around you that you are now happier. And so there can come a time, if you're trying to hold on to this space, this new thing that you have, this new identity too tightly, that it's like trying to hold on a muscle, keep a muscle tight and closed, so strong that it starts to get weaker. So my advice usually is, if you confront this, then just allow yourself to go back to the stupid old you that you were before. Don't worry about it. And allow yourself to go back and enjoy all the relief that the people around you will feel that they're finally right, how wrong you were to change, etc. And allow yourself just to relax into that. And then what you will find is that after a time, it'll give you some sort of temporary relief that you don't have to sort of present yourself with what you've come out with, which is new, but it'll feel limiting after a time. And then when you remember your phrase then, and you take back this identity a second time, you'll feel that it's much stronger. And you go through this. This is how I see the change process really happening realistically. You go through several phases of sort of reclaiming it again, is it stronger, and then letting it go again, and reclaiming it again and letting it go again. So it's not a sort of one-time thing. You just reclaim it. If it gets too strenuous, let it go, reclaim it again. And over time, you'll see that you get stronger and stronger. And there comes a moment when you don't give a damn what anybody else is thinking or what your environment is like around you, because you've reclaimed it so strongly, that's just where your life is moving. So that's my realistic answer to does it last? If you try to hang on too tight and think, oh no, I've got it, it's going to be strenuous. It's not what this is about. Just do it as long as, as where it's feeling good, let it go and take it back. Because actually, the work we're doing here, just trust it, it's irreversible. It's like once you've reclaimed this part inside you, it's not going to run away from you. I mean, you can forget it. I say it's important to remember. You can forget it again, but life will come and remind you. In other words, if you don't remember it consciously, it may even take a year or 2 or 3 years, but it'll come back. Something in life will come to you which will remind you if you've forgotten it. And if you don't pay attention, it'll come back in a pretty strong way to you, particularly once you've done this work. If you don't remember, it'll come back. So just trust that. And that's my answer in a sense to does it last? So maybe that's helpful.
Are you kidding me? You just exploded my head again in all fantastic ways. And I'm going to marry in some metaphors that we commonly use in this tribe that you've heard me speak about before. So you're feeling into this now. So everything Peter's describing, really, in addition to everything he's describing, it leads to relaxation and letting go. Can you all feel that it's not about pressure? And we all know what happens when you put too much pressure on. That just sort of kills the flow. It kills possibility. I mean, there's instances to mobilize, to energize yourself and put forward, but you know the kind of pressure I'm talking about when we're judging and pressuring ourselves and we get locked into one position that I have to always do it this way and I've got to hold tightly. So we began today by speaking about holding things lightly rather than tightly so that we're not so attached. So that's one. What you just heard him describe brilliantly is crabs in a bucket. We all know crabs in a bucket, that in life, oh, you're going like this. You don't, in real life, in America, with blue crabs in particular, that the crabbers know that they catch all the crabs and they put them in buckets and they don't have a lid on the buckets because they don't need a lid on the buckets because the crabs are in the bottom. And when one tries to crawl its way out, the other crabs grab it by the legs and yank it back down. They will not another crab escape from the bucket. So that feeling that you have after you've reclaimed and then you're out in the world and you're happy and you expect, often we have an expectation that won't people just get it and love us. You're going to meet people, that are upset and really want to put you back in that box. We also spoke today about visibility and can I be visible or I don't want to be visible? And there's some truths to this, right? The more visible you are, the more you're going to invite the haters. So there's the happy people, and then there's the haters. And one of the beauties of this reclaiming, it appears to me to be like weatherproofing, right? That you just don't care. You're just able to be with everything. You don't have to push it away. You don't have to resist it. Oh, I've got to be perfect and have my perfect makeup and look the perfect way so that I don't invite any criticism. Nah, we're gonna all just have it, but this makes it not so penetrable. So we're able to be robust and live in the life in a particular way. Let's see, letting go of pressure, letting go of significance, holding it lightly. Also going to be inviting, as we talked about earlier, but a reminder here at the end of our call, whack-a-mole. So you'll feel amazing, you might feel great, and then the next thing that's been wanting to come up, or the parts that have been holding back quietly for a long time, they're like, aha, there's an escape hatch, and they come up forcefully. It does not mean that this isn't working, it's just another layer to come up. And I've never heard anybody say what you said today, Peter, about in the old industrialized era, it was from the top down, the leadership, the parents, and all of that. And now in the new age that's coming forward, it's our responsibility, because everybody here is part of consciousness movement, and everybody here is probably the most consciously aware or evolved person in your family or in your circle or one of them. And so to step into that leadership role in that way is the way it's meant to be for what's coming and what's possible. I didn't actually realize I was going to be trying to summarize main points I heard, but that's apparently what's occurring. Also, this piece that's really beautiful about the iterative nature of the reclaiming, that was gorgeous, Peter, that it'll come up and it'll change, and then you'll notice it slipping. And that's right where we judge ourselves. And the whole ethos of everything we do is about trying to not, that critical voice can't rule, that manager part in your head can't rule, because it stops everything cold. To just become okay. Oh yeah, here I am. I'm back to the stupid person I was before. Yeah, I had that change, not feeling it today. Okay. And just sort of being in the welcoming place of what's occurring now in the moment, and that it'll come back again. And you don't even have to go digging for it. What I just heard Peter say is that life is going to bring that lesson back around again, or another invitation to be reminded of what you reclaimed before. And ultimately, after the right number of repetitions, the right number of iterations with you interacting with life, this is going to become irreversible. This change is irreversible. So there's the cellular change that's happening right at the beginning that's real. You can count on it. And there's the release of markers. That's real. And there can be a tendency to go try and find the familiar and habit and look and put it back in place. That's okay too. Okay, I'm doing that again. That's all right. That's happening. And there's an invitation to just live in a new way, ultimately, that has such a profound amount of spaciousness and relaxation in it. This is not how we were raised, and particularly in the States. I don't know from Europe, but the Puritans and the work ethic and the kill yourself and the push and all the personal development gurus of push, push, push. And you all know I'm the opposite. I'm the anti-guru person of push, willpower, force, and effort. There's something else possible. And I think maybe that's one of the most invitational pieces of this for me, Peter, is that not only the swift change and the depth of the change and the authenticity, but there's such access to oneness, all that is consciousness, that's such a quicker ability to offload our conditioned programming and be in that space. So it's now almost time, and I want to just say thank you. I prize everybody that spoke up today, whether you wrote in the chat or you were brave and you came on camera. So much healing occurred. I can't even at all wrap my head around it yet. I'm going to need to be with it, and probably everybody here too, and probably some time to sleep will be good. I'm curious to hear what you're taking away. Tomorrow we're going to be, we have a whole other day of this. How blessed are we? I actually have to say, down to my toes, how grateful I am that this occurred, that life wanted this to happen, that you said yes, Naja, you said yes, that you all showed up to come here together to co-create. What I'm really aware of is I can't take in yet with my top brain at all how much healing is occurring, how much possibility is opening for everybody out of just this brief time we've spent together so far. And I'm seeing heads nodding. So bless all of you. As we look at takeaways here, Anthony, I haven't heard from you yet at all, and you raised your hand. If you got a takeaway, there's also sharing time tomorrow, time to work. But Anthony, what's
yeah, so I just figured out how to unmute or raise hand. So, but yeah, so I wanted to, yes, everything that you just said yes, yes, yes. I wanted to thank everybody that participated because, yeah, the movement is huge. It's not just ripples, it's tidal waves going out. But the thing I take away from yesterday and the same today is unhook the resistance. Like that's what we're doing. We're just, we've got this tension. We can't live fully. We can't go because all this stuff. But once we unhook the resistance and then look at both sides, it's like, oh, okay, that's okay. And then we're freer or more fluid or something like that. So it's awesome. Very cool.
So nice to see your face. Thank you, Anthony. Who else? What are you taking away from today? Actually, before I even invite these, because I didn't give you a moment to rebut if I said anything wrong or got anything wrong, Peter, from your point of view.
I've just written it down, Wendy. I thought that was a just excellent summary you've done. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
No more to say than that. Wonderful summary.
Wasn't planned. I was just bursting. Thank you. T, what are you taking away from today?
So I'm just taking away the universality of some of the things that for me I felt was, that's just me, or that's my own uniqueness, whatever. And just also how grateful I am for our community because the issues are so correlated together. I'm just so grateful for this. So thank you, Wendy, to you for bringing this together, and Peter and Naja and everyone who's here and participated. I just feel so blessed to be together.
Thank you, darling. Very good. Thank you. Leisha, what are you taking away?
I love that nothing is a reason to not live fully. I mean, wow. When Peter went over that around guilt, and then it's like, fill in the blank. Nothing is a reason to not live fully. That's, oh my gosh, I love it.
Thank you. Thank you, darling. Elias, I'm so happy that you're here. What are you taking away, my friend?
Yeah, just I only attended part of it yesterday and today, so I just want to say, I think this is like a massive shortcut to what they say, what you resist persist, and this is a way to let go of that resistance easily and without any too much pain and effort. And I think that's why. And then of course the guilt, how Peter talked about the guilt, and if you're not living fully, that's why you feel the guilt. So those are my two major takeaways.
Thank you. So great to see you. Thank you so much. And who else has it? Dan, what's your takeaway? You are on mute. There we go.
Just the unraveling of everything. You pull at a thread and it leads to another and to another, and then that kind of thing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to go to my other view and see if you just wave at me if you have a takeaway that you'd like to share, because these help everybody. It can be one word or one sentence. And if you're full, it's okay too. You don't have to speak up, but I'm just checking. If there's anybody else that had, yes, Kira, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Wendy. It just occurred to me there that maybe I should say that I definitely identify as one of the people in the world who are highly, highly sensitive to energy. And I'd say there's probably a lot of us, if not all of us on this call are in that same boat. And to have a space where we can come together and, that we've been healed in ourselves enough to be able to speak at such a deep level in such a beautiful forum, if you like. And sorry, one minute, I'm talking just for a wee second. Excuse me. Sorry, my daughter's just about to come in there. And to speak about things which people who are extremely highly sensitive actually struggle with, that death wish thing, because it's so difficult here. And I'm so glad that that was addressed tonight, because it's something that's not really spoken about in mainstream circles. It's like, oh my God, they're not well, or whatever, you know what I mean? And there's way more to it than that. It's not really understood. And it's, the sensitivity is at the back of it a lot of the time. So it was just amazing that people were able to, like Laura, were able to bring up something so deep and so touching, and to have that just, just, you know, popped, you know, when I go, whatever. So I thought that was beautiful. And I'm really grateful for these 3 days here. Yeah. Thank you.
Kira, thank you. Thank you to everybody. Nadja, did you have any final words? You contributed so much today. Was there anything you wanted to say?
Oh, thank you so much. Bless you. Well, firstly, I just wanted to thank you, Wendy, for inviting me into this beautiful community that you have. And I feel really touched because I actually feel such an overlap between sort of my tribe and my people and my community in this field, and also realizing that Peter and his you know, immense wisdom has created this huge umbrella that can actually unite so many different fractions and people are out there looking for something more real. And so it felt really, really lovely to be in this space. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be there with you guys tomorrow, but I will watch the recording for sure. And thank you so much, Wendy. And thank you, Peter, of course. Thank you all of you.
Thank you so much. And it just occurred to me to remind everyone, as you're relaxing tonight, you don't have to think hard. You don't have to search in your brain. There's nothing to figure out. You can just relax and be in the well-being. And if it comes up, just a reminder what we talked about before, as you're noticing things to reclaim, because this sets off kind of a hunger, right? Like, ooh, that's a magic bullet. What else could I let go of? Interesting rocks to look under that are indicators of unconscious places that we've been holding on, that we could do something differently, are places that you're judging yourself, places where you're feeling dissatisfaction, places where you envy anybody or you're jealous of somebody else. That's an indication of something. That's probably an indication to reclaim. Who plugs you in? Things that we project stuff onto in the world. So other people or situations, or, oh, that pisses me off. There's a reclamation in there to do. So just very gently today, there's no need to go digging around a lot, but I wanted to reintroduce that, underline that, so that it might, I don't know, stir more things up. And then tomorrow will be another adventure where we get to have Peter with us. So thank you so very much. Peter, did you have any last words? And then we'll close this off.
I think not, Wendy. I think it's been beautiful. Thank you. Thank you to everybody who's shared, and all of those of you who haven't shared but have really been in your present, been very present. I can see how everybody's been participating really fully in this from start to finish, actually.
Yes.
Very
yes.
strong presence in this space.
Almost everybody's
so thank
in.
you.
It's like there's so many, they stay all the way to the end, right? So people came
Yeah.
and so thank you for that, Peter. Boy, are we blessed. Thank you to each one of you who carved the time out to be here. Hopefully some that couldn't even be here during the work week can come tomorrow for the full time on our weekend. And just wishing you all the best. We'll call this one done and we'll meet back here again tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Pacific to see what else might be possible. So, mwah. Oh, and as we do, what do we do, everybody, on the way out? Yeah, unmute yourselves.
Oh, we're gonna do 1, 2, 3. No.
Yes, yes.
Vibration.
Where the energy goes up, the learning goes in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so
Love you
much.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
And Peter, I'm okay. We don't need to debrief unless you want to send me a message. So I think we're.
I'm fine.